What is going on, everybody? It is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video. Now, you can probably tell the background's way different, and there's no more posters in the background. I'm just doing a makeover of my room and things like that. So my room's getting completely made over. In the midst of building my first ever DVD shelf, or Blu-ray shelf, whatever. So I'm in the midst of doing that, and I put all the movie posters away somewhere, and I figured I'll try to find those and do like a movie wall or something like that on one of the walls and things like that, so that way they're not all scattered everywhere. So I figured I can have one wall that's like specifically of movie posters and things like that. So in the midst of doing all that, I figured I'd show you guys a very huge Blu-ray update. Now, when I say a very huge update, this is going to include some newer Blu-rays that I got, but I'm also going to show some ones I've shown already in previous updates, but I figured I'd just include them in this one, so in case if people miss those ones, they can watch this one. And, of course, on top of that, too, I kind of wanted to talk more about the older Blu-rays, because I feel like I haven't really talked about them much. But, so I figured I'd show you guys all the stuff, all these Blu-rays that I've gotten, and who knows how long it's been. So let's get on to it. It's going to be in multiple parts. So let's get on to the Blu-ray update. The first one, My Bloody Valentine. Really excellent release from Scream Factory on this one. Has both cuts of the film. Both have 4K scans, which is really cool. The uncut version is completely restored with all the deleted footage put back in the film, which is great. Radio spots, TV spots, commentaries, interviews. I mean, this is just a wonderful release from Scream Factory, and I think they did an excellent job on this. So if you have this on DVD, I would recommend upgrading to the Blu-ray, because the Blu-ray does have both cuts of the film in 4K. And especially the uncut version, like all those deleted scenes that were like in VHS quality or something like that are all remastered in 4K, which is cool. So a really great release from Scream Factory, and definitely one of my personal favorite slashers. Sorry. Burping a little bit, sorry. I just got done taking a drink. I don't know why that happens to me, but the next one is Idle Hands. Another Scream Factory release that I think they did a really good job with. You have brand new interviews with the director Robin Flender, Eldon Henson, Sean Whalen, Christopher Hart, and you also have a brand new commentary track with Devon Sawa, Vivica A. Fox, and things like that. Really good commentary track, as well as the old commentary with the director Eldon Henson, the making of featurette from back in the day, deleted scenes. Really fun horror gem from the 90s, really good horror comedy where Devon Sawa plays a slacker whose hand comes alive and has its own soul and starts attacking people and things like that. It's a very fun horror comedy. You also have, Devon Sawa, Eldon Henson, Seth Green, Vivica A. Fox, Jessica Alba, things like that. Really fun flick. Next one, another Scream Factory, April Fool's Day. Another pretty solid release from Scream Factory. I wish there were more features on this, because it does have brand new interviews with the director, Deborah Goodrich, Clayton Rohner, the cinematographer, and the composer, but no Amy Steele, no Thomas Wilson, things like that. I wish there was like a making of documentary, things like that, but it's still pretty cool that this film finally got a special edition. One of the more underrated slashers from the 80s, and definitely one of my personal favorite horror films from the 80s. I think the twist at the end is very genius, but underrated flick. Next one, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. Of course, this is the Netflix film that was based on the Ted Bundy story with Zac Efron in the role of Ted Bundy. And pretty cool to own this on Blu-ray, things like that. Because, Netflix films usually don't get Blu-ray releases, but this one had one. I'm really glad to own this. I think Zac Efron did a great job, You also have Lily Collins, Dylan Baker from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films as Dr. Connors, Haley Joel Osment, John Malkovich, Jim Parsons. So a pretty solid cast. This I had on DVD, but it was full screen, so I figured I'd pick up the Blu-ray because it is in widescreen. But Toy Soldiers, a very underrated action flick from the 90s, where it's basically Die Hard in a boarding school, pretty much, where these terrorists take over this boarding school, and then you have this group of, I guess, delinquent kids headed by Sean Astin, and you also have Will Wheaton as one of the kids. Keith Coogan from Adventures in Babysitting is one of them, and the main villain is Andrew Divoff, the Wishmaster himself. You also have Denholm Elliott, who is in Trading Places, Louis Gossett Jr., who was in Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher, a lot of other stuff. I believe he was in Jaws 3. Maybe that might be. I think he was. I could be wrong on that, but really fun flick from the 90s. Really good action flick. This one here, I reviewed the film before, but I figured I would talk about it a little bit more in case people are interested in checking this out. It's a pretty fun flick. Point Doom. This is the one that was from, I think it's, Dark Force Entertainment released this. Let me just fix the cover a little bit. Yeah, I think that's better. Oh no, it's messed up on the front there. Hold on. Oh, fuck this up. Sorry, folks. I think I messed up this cover. I'm so sorry, folks. I completely messed up this cover. I think that's better. Yeah, that's better. My goodness. Point Doom from Dark Force Entertainment. The story of this film is pretty much directed by Art Camacho, who did a couple of other things. Has a very strange cast of people, I will say so myself. You have Richard Grieco, Jennifer Odell, Andrew Dice Clay, John Enos, Ice-T, Zach Galligan, Angie Everhart, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. The basic idea with this film is that Richard Grieco plays a guy who's a Hollywood talent agent guy who's visiting, he's trying to find a woman, trying to settle down with a woman, things like that. And he goes to the strip club that he hangs out at all the time because his buddy runs the place, played by Andrew Dice Clay. And while Richard Grieco's there, he meets his waitress, who's played by Jennifer Odell, and they start a little conversation. But little does Richard Grieco know that she's in a abusive relationship with this biker played by John Enos, and he has a gang of bikers, and his right hand man is Zach Galligan. And the basic idea is that this biker gang screwed over their brotherhood and stole drugs and money from them, and they give it to Ice-T, who's a gangster, and Sebastian Bach's one of the other rivals they have, and there's this whole thing of someone stole from their brotherhood and things like that. And Jennifer Odell and her sister, played by Angie Everhart, are pretty much trapped in this relationship because she's in this abusive relationship with this biker guy, and Richard Grieco is kind of her way out of it, and things like that. And then the whole thing of what happens from there. I will say, I did a full-length review of this film already. If you want to see more of a detailed review of the film, you can go check out my review of Point Doom. Just go on my channel and type in Point Doom review. You'll find it. But it's a really fun flick. I enjoy this film a lot. Excuse me. Cuffs. Really fun flick with Christian Slater. I'd probably say my favorite Christian Slater flick. This and Broken Arrow pretty close for me, but I'd probably say this is my favorite Christian Slater film. Pretty much if you did Deadpool PG-13 is like the right way to do it. Really fun flick with him and Mila Jovovich. You also have Tony Goldwyn, who was in Ghost, Friday the 13th Part 6. Directed by Bruce Evans, which he did not direct a film until Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner, really enough. But it's a really fun flick, and really pretty decent release from Shout Factory. Next one here is another Shout Factory release, Elvis. Pretty good miniseries with John Carpenter directing this, and the first time that Kurt Russell and John Carpenter worked together, where Kurt Russell played Elvis Presley. You also have Shelley Winters, Bing Russell. You also have Joe Montagna, Ed Begley Jr., Pat Hingle. But really solid miniseries by John Carpenter about the life of Elvis Presley. Another Scream Factory, Cue the Winged Serpent. Really fun creature feature flick from the 80s. Pretty much about, Quetzalcoatl, who's a dragon Aztec god, who's killing people and, picking people up on top of the Chrysler Building in New York City. And you have this cop on the case, played by David Carradine. You also have Richard Roundtree, Candy Clark, Michael Moriarty, written and directed by Larry Cohen. Really fun creature feature flick. Another Scream Factory release, Cherry Falls. Pretty solid slasher from the 90s, or I think it was the 2000. Sorry, from the year 2000. Basically, it's about the idea of a serial killer going around killing virgins, pretty much. Pretty interesting idea for a slasher. You also have Brittany Murphy, may she rest in peace. You have Michael Biehn, Jay Moore. It's a pretty good flick. I like Cherry Falls. It's one of the more underrated horror films from the 2000s. For the Stallone collection, I had this on DVD, but it was all scuffed up and all that stuff, so I picked up the Blu-ray for like $5. Demolition Man. Definitely one of Stallone's best flicks. I think him and Wesley Snipes are great together. You also have Sandra Bullock. Dennis Leary has a small role in this. Demolition Man's great. One of my personal favorite action flicks from the 90s. Another Scream Factory one, The Blob, which is another great release from Scream Factory. A lot of really good features on this. 3 commentary tracks. A lot of interviews on here. Finally, this one got a special edition. Very well deserved. This one I was really excited about when I heard they released this from Scream Factory. Big Trouble in Little China. This is definitely one of my personal favorite releases from Scream Factory. This thing is loaded to the brim with features. It also carries over the Arrow Video Blu-ray features on this, which is cool, and a lot of other features as well. And I love how they have the original poster art as the reversible cover art. But this cover art's pretty cool as well. I like this cover art too. But definitely my favorite John Carpenter flick, and my favorite Kurt Russell flick. And the last one I'm going to show for this part is Any Given Sunday on Blu-ray. The director's cut has both cuts of the film and things like that. Definitely my favorite sports film. Love Any Given Sunday. Okay, so I'm going to stop for part 1 right here, and I'll see you guys in part 2.